You're now listening to Signed In Private Chat featuring Transformers War for Cybertron, recorded on July 3rd, 2010. Find us online at signedinpodcast.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Signed In Private Chat.
Yes.
I'm Jeremy, SuperPro33.
I'm Craig, Prof Dresser.
And I am Shonix.
What were you before that?
You just transformed from a microwave.
I'm just
You
Shonix.
were a microwave?
I'm not even Sean. I'm Shonix.
Why were you a microwave?
He made this popcorn I have here.
No.
Why did you point at your lap? I'm not going to eat that.
I'm all about popping corn.
This is the private chat for Transformers War for Cybertron. And I know that we have a show here that we can do, right?
I think that's a record for us. 10 seconds in and we already derailed ourselves.
I think so.
I have a hard time just saying stuff, and then when I'm saying it, and I'm hearing it in my headphones, I'm like,
you have an
why
out-of-body
did you
experience?
just do that?
Well,
Smacking me.
Well, we got Transformers War for Cybertron that we
Yes.
talked about on the last episode.
Yes.
That to the listeners at home was a week ago, but to us, with the magic of our time manipulation,
Singularity.
was 5 minutes ago.
Back in time.
So we have some extra stuff.
I didn't appreciate you turning me into dust, though, by the way.
Extra stuff that we wanted
Or
to,
making me into a baby and
that we
kicking me at Sean.
wanted to talk about with Transformers War for Cybertron that were maybe a little more spoilerific.
Yes.
Maybe some stuff about the story. Definitely some stuff about the story.
Right.
And we didn't want to ruin that for folks. So
Right.
this is your spoiler warning right now. There are spoilers.
And probably all the shit I forgot last episode.
There you go.
Yes.
So what else do you guys have to add on about Transformers War for Cybertron?
I was just playing on the show. I fucking hate the game, so
Whatever.
that was just for the those for those listeners, not the private chat
Right.
listeners. Yeah. No,
Liar.
I take it back.
So what aspect story-wise did you guys, like, what was, like, the biggest impact for you story-wise? Because there was a couple elements for me that were, like, I knew at that point was a turning point for the game where
Right.
I talked about it on the show where I was kind of like, I don't know. And then shit just started getting epic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the word I used then, and it still applies.
Right. This kind of ties into what we talked about on the last episode a little bit, but I want to go into it a little, with a little more depth in that there are the two campaigns, the Decepticon and the Autobot campaign.
Right.
And when I first started them, I thought they were going to be separate campaigns, as they are often in games that allow you to play as the villains as well. It was a little weird that you started that the first chapter was Decepticons, whatever. And it wasn't probably until I was in like chapter 3 or something like that I really started to realize, oh shit, when I'm done with this,
Right.
the Autobots are going to have to fight back against me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're taking them all down.
Exactly. I'm setting up my own situation here. And I thought that was really kind of cool because then, I don't know, it was a nice way to incorporate the Decepticon element to the story, but also kind of made it like, you really rooted for the Decepticons for a while there at least.
Well, it's totally Megatron's rise to power.
Yeah.
It followed, and the reason there wasn't like certain aspects of I can use them as one campaign in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it is ultimately.
Yeah, ultimately, but still, it was like watching an episode of a G1 Transformers cartoon. It was Megatron just rising up. He was way better than ever's going to be Cobra Commander because he just, no matter what, he got what he needed done. It was someone that fucked it up for him.
Right.
That's usually what the case was. So to me, that's why I really got pulled into this game and really got pulled into the story because it felt like I was watching a Transformers cartoon.
Right. It was telling. It was telling more of a story than it was just playing a game story or something like that. I usually feel game stories are a little more limited because you're only going to be looking through a certain set of eyes. But this one really took that opportunity and expanded it, and I thought that was great. Now you were mentioning something before we started recording, actually, but I wanted to give you credit for it with the mirroring.
Oh yeah.
So what were you saying about that?
Well, just because you fight Omega Supreme at the end of the Decepticons,
big boss battle, yeah.
and then you fight Tripticon,
Right.
And they all kind of, and then there was some flying parts.
Yeah.
There was some flying parts in each of them. You were Starscream and his crew, and then you were Jetfire and that crew. So they just kind of mirrored each other and just the things that you did.
And you return to some areas as well, because with the Decepticons, they were turning off those anti-aircraft guns, and then later during the Autobot campaign, I don't remember if it was the major part of the campaign, but you came back to that area and turned on a gun.
It was like the
or
first
something.
part of their campaign, I think, the first or second
somewhere
one,
around there,
where you had to like reactivate them all,
right?
because they were getting the air raids.
Because it was Megatron going into Iacon and raiding Iacon, and then you're saving Iacon basically, as the Autobots.
Yep.
After Megatron has already blown through there. So I really liked, I like that. I mean, there may be some people who feel like, oh, well, they're just kind of reusing things, you know.
I think
some
really
people hate
worked,
returns, but I agree with
You know,
Sean
and
here.
what I really like too is that they did those big boss battles at the end of those.
Yeah.
And it was never about Megatron fighting Optimus.
No.
Yeah.
Like you didn't get to like a big
No, that
Optimus
never
Megatron
happens.
because they had pawns. I mean, it was like they had other help or like bigger gates. Like it wouldn't have been a big deal to just fight Megatron jumping around and hiding
Because
behind a
Optimus
wall.
was still a punk.
Yeah, exactly.
He was just a
that's what I wanna
kid, and
point out.
Megatron was like, "I'm Dark Energon, bitch. I'm gonna kill everybody."
Yeah, because
Seriously, he became I loved him.
story-wise, there's some reason why Optimus doesn't want to be a leader. He's
Yeah.
actually, you know, they reveal that, you know, he's kind of turned down the offer to be a Prime.
Yeah, and they totally pepper that in too with the that's a story for another time.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh well, there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I know where the game's going.
And you know, I liked when he goes before the council and they're all talking about like how we've seen so many primes and they're all, you know, they get tempted by all this greed and power and stuff like that. And you're so awesome and we want you to be, you know, a prime. Be a prime, goddammit. And he's like, okay.
Fine. I am awesome.
If you say it that way.
It's just Optimus
Every
has always
time I see
been.
you.
I think that's the other thing too, is that they really captured the character of Optimus. I mean, that's
Yeah.
always been what. Even when he was a leader, he's always been in the front lines and always been just punking people out. So I think that's, you know, what Megatron just tells people what to do.
Yeah. Well, and we mentioned on the previous show that it's very successful as a nostalgia fest. And I think grasping the characters was one of the biggest reasons why, you know, it was like Megatron was just pitch perfect.
Yes.
For his attitude and just how insane and power hungry he was, and he would be oblivious to, you know, ridiculous things just because he's like, no, it will work because I'm Megatron.
Yep, exactly.
You know, like you start off and it's like you and what is it, Barricade and Brawl are flying in this warship, and he's like, just drive it into that space station, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Are you kidding me? And then he shoots some guy because he says, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially.
And then, you know, Starscream too.
Yeah.
We were talking about him
Yes.
as far as, you know, starting off as the Autobot.
Because this is his origin as the Starscream as we know him today.
switching over to the
Yeah.
Being a Decepticon, because he's the ex Sky Commander. He's been putting. I always forget that these Autobot or the Transformers are basically kind of immortal or whatever. Because he's like, I've protected this base for 1,000 years. I'm like, holy shit. and that's probably 1,000 years that he's been since he was deposed as Sky Commander or whatever.
yeah.
That he's been harboring those grudges, and that feeds in perfectly. Then when Megatron says, "I'll return you to power," he's like, well, I'm gonna try and steal that shit.
Yeah.
every time Megatron's ship crashes, he's like, "Okay, Decepticons, I'm in charge.
Retreat. Yeah.
I'm not gonna give that to you, Megatron." What? I meant, here you go. You know, just all. There's a lot of humor involved between the characters, even in the Decepticon element. Like that. There's that part where Omega Supreme is attacking you as you're driving down the road, with and I believe Soundwave is with one of your crew members as well, and you usually have like a big scientist or soldier dude and usually one of the scout dudes, and the scout dude's always the mouthiest of them all. And I can't remember the name of the scout dude who was with you on that particular level.
I hate
If it was
Mean Streak
It
or
wasn't.
something like
No,
that?
it wasn't Barricade. It started with a B as well, I think, though.
Was
But
it that car one?
yeah, he was a car
can't
because all the scouts are cars.
Loser.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, they get to the end, and he's, you know, because all the time he's like, "We're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it." And then Megatron's like, "You're gonna make it, or else I'll blow your head off," or something like that. and then they get there, and he's like, "We made it. We did it." And then Megatron's like, "Yes, whatever your name is, your constant whining saved us all." And I would just bust up laughing at all that shit, and that made it so fun for me. I think that's one of the things that really drew me into the game, was just that it wasn't just, here's Transformers, we're doing Transformers right and all that stuff, but it felt like they actually made an active effort to be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
That goes back to the cartoon thing, where they obviously had an entertainment value put into that,
right?
With keeping your attention and coupling it with the nostalgia factor.
Because too often when people come back to nostalgia things or licensed things, it seems like to me they're just so ingrained on getting it right and doing it the right way or doing their update the right way that they don't feel like they don't branch out beyond that much.
Well, because they plan on the nostalgia factor being what propels it and sells it, and it's like, well,
exactly.
you got to be happy with the okay gameplay because look, you're playing characters that you grew up with, and so that who else is giving you that?
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like that this game did that at all.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It seems like so much other care was put into it beyond that to make it an actual entertaining.
And I think
experience.
this is something we said when we talked about Batman Arkham Asylum was that it felt like that they really liked the license property and they wanted to do a game that they thought was awesome.
Yeah.
And it goes as far as we talked about the voice acting, and one thing we didn't mention on the show because I don't want to spoil it for people is the end credits.
Yes.
Which are brilliant.
Yeah.
I got to
one
those
of the
credits
songs from the original movie.
and they were fantastic.
A new song.
Yeah, but
no, that's an old song.
I think it's a new song for the game,
It's a
but
new
it's the
song.
same dude.
Yeah, same guy.
No, it's an old song because it was he re-released it on a 2006 album because I researched this.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that was from the movie, I believe.
Okay. I thought it was a different song they used in the movie.
And maybe my research is wrong, but that's the way I understood it. That because he made two songs for the original Transformers movie, the Touch, and then what I believe was this song, Till All Are One.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it might be a different part because I thought the intro was a little bit different.
And this, maybe they changed some of it up.
I watched that movie. I watched those movies a lot.
Regardless.
And the credit said it was from his 2006 album.
Regardless. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is
Yes.
awesome.
And some of those scenes are kind of recreations of things from the game, and some are just playing around with the character models and things like that.
And it was done like in a whole cartoon style.
Well, it was like the intro. It was like the intro to the old cartoon. Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of like what you would see at the end of like a Pixar movie, where they're where they're playing around with the characters and having more fun with it, and
I just wasn't ready for it, and it was awesome.
I've watched that like 10 times.
Yeah.
I was, and that's the other thing too is that it nails it because the credits are like 2.5 minutes long.
They're really short,
and so they do it for the length of the song and the animation, and then it's done. It's not like a 8-minute credit roll, which is what I'm so accustomed to with games anymore.
Yeah.
Especially licensed games. Remember Batman
Right.
Arkham Asylum? That was the longest credits ever.
And so it was just like it does it, and it's like entertaining while it does it.
Yeah.
And I watched the whole thing, and it was awesome.
I know.
Yeah, they did
stuff.
I loved it. So what did you guys? I loved my favorite moment in the game was the Soundwave
Oh yeah.
battle. I think.
Oh, in the prison?
And when you're fighting and he's ejecting all his dudes out,
Right.
And they're all making fun of him for having to come out and take care of his babies,
He's like the daddy.
which was hilarious.
I know. Again.
But I love all the Laserbeak coming out, and
Yeah.
who else was it?
Frenzy
and
Rumble.
Rumble. That's
Yeah.
it. I just thought it was really cool, and he had those little dudes that are jumping around and taking me out,
Yeah.
I thought that
pounding the ground.
Yeah, those little. That was perfect. I wanted, I kind of wanted Ravager a little bit, but what are you gonna do?
For some odd reason, I was really drawn into that level where I believe it's the one where you're going into the core, and it's when Warpath and Ironhide are traveling with Optimus. Warpath, the big tank guy, who's kind of the new guy.
Well, yeah, kablam!
I know
He's old. He's totally old school. I love because he came in later in the cartoon series, but it's that voice, and they totally had it. It was like pow, wham,
he was just so
kablam.
fun.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just like this reckless sort of dude, and and I like the interaction between him and Ironside, who is of course the old guy of the Autobots.
Who's really tired of it?
Exactly.
Of hearing this little dude.
He's like, shut up already.
I was a big fan. The level that I like a lot, and I've played a couple different times since I've done past it, is the Dark Energon one. Is when I think that's the second, or it might have even been the first. It was when you're like totally ransacked that Starscream's place, and like Soundwave is giving you updates. It's like I want that place done, everything in control when I get there, and like you walk in and people are like in chains and are surrounded by whatever. I thought that level was fantastic, and then even Starscream at the end is just like, I guess I'm with you now, and Jetfire calls him a traitor and takes off. That really just made, I'm like, this game is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like when Jetfire he leaves, I'm like, oh, he's going to tell somebody.
Here's something I just thought of. I never once thought of like, why are they sending these dudes out? Because it could have fallen into the trap where it was like, well, we have to show a lot of different Transformers for the fans and stuff, and so here's just a random smattering of Transformers. I never got that feeling like, why the hell would Megatron be going out on this mission? Of course he's going out on this mission.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys aren't gonna mess this up,
Right?
Stuff
I'm going to
like
be
that.
in charge.
Yeah,
He's a leader.
Exactly. So I thought that was incorporated pretty well as well.
And the way they did some of them, they weren't always like, it wasn't like scientist, scout, leader.
Right.
It was like there was one mission where it was Megatron, Ironhide, and then like you were saying, not Megatron, but
Optimus, Ironhide, and Warpath. And so that's 2 soldiers and a leader.
And which I thought was fantastic, because then there was like, I didn't know who to choose from, because they were all fun.
And that was a much more shooty, because the culmination of that, because that's when you're trying to free Omega Supreme, now that I think of it. It's not when you're going to the core. Or is it?
Well, you go down there.
No, I think it is when you're trying to free Omega Supreme. Anyway, I'm all confused now.
On your way.
All these robots.
I know. So much awesomeness.
One thing we didn't mention on the show that I really loved, and we talked about the way that the campaign's broken up, but I love the chapter select too.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't expecting. And that you can go in and just play, like, they got everything right with the game, and even down to the core of replayability and replaying some of those sections. And if there was a really awesome part, you don't have to play through the entire 30, 40-minute campaign.
Well, plus there are achievements tied to specific, each chapter has its own chapter specific achievement, and so you can use the chapter select just to go to that point. Like, for instance, get down the speedway in 33 seconds or whatever it was, and so you can just load that checkpoint and load that part of the chapter and keep playing that until you get it, if that's what you want to do.
Which is brilliant.
Which I walked down that whole speedway because I had
walked?
I had the big gun.
Oh,
And I didn't know what was in front of me.
you got to give that up, man. Oh,
I
by the way,
understand that. Because once I got to a part where I couldn't jump to take the gun with me, those guns are awesome.
I don't know if this was true for either of you guys as well, but the first chapter I played through as Bumblebee, so I was not Optimus, but whenever Optimus said transform and roll out, I fucking listened to what he said. I don't care what I was doing. I was like going to look for something. I'm like, oh, better transform, and I just speed off.
No, I don't do that.
No.
But you're crazy when it comes to that stuff. You follow all your directions in games.
You do not mess with Optimus. When he says to
right.
roll out, you roll out, bitch.
That's
Yeah,
right.
It's true. It's
So,
true.
And I think part of me, like, we talked about the scale being like epic.
Oh, yes.
And I really felt it like when I got that first flying mission on the Decepticons, and you're kind of in space.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you got like aware of like, wow, there's a lot going on. And you could see the planet down below, and like all this shit was going on. And you're like, this is awesome.
Or getting towards the end with Trypticon, and he's he's going down to the planet. He's going to mess up the Autobots, and so
It's when you fly in and you're like, you shoot that core and you make him transform.
Yeah.
And then you have to fly out of his mouth.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's like closing
As it's
around
closing.
you. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, they did a really good job with all that shit.
And then you're out there, and then, like you said, you're shooting him as you're falling to the planet, which is really just cool looking.
it really is. It really, really is. That last battle with Trypticon, though.
How'd that go for you?
What the shit is going
I
on
don't know.
with
It
that?
was a little over the top.
I kind of alluded to it in the last episode. That's the battle where it's ridiculous because Trypticon like taunts you, and then he immediately starts to attack you.
Yeah.
And there's like no cover for you to hide behind, and you have to wait until the Autobots figure out how to beat him before you can even start damaging him. And I literally died 8 times before they even got to telling me how I can actually hit him.
Oh, look, those panels.
I know, because
good.
he shoots these missiles, and you can't run fast enough. You have to be in car mode, going in a straight line. You can't even be turning. If you're turning, you're not going fast enough.
And you pretty much have to go from all the way on one side
Yes.
to the other because they last that long.
That's how I ended up beating him. I had to go online to figure, have somebody tell me how to develop this system, because it was a system, and it was ridiculous. And the spiders kind of annoyed me.
I liked them.
The crystal spiders. I
spiders-
liked them at first until they were starting to be thrown in with other things,
Well,
and I couldn't see them.
That's the
Because you're focused
that's-
up above,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
the
now you have
problem
these
when
little spiders.
they had you fighting Trypticon, because you're focused at Trypticon and they're at your feet.
Well, even I would know, and I would I'd wait for them to explode out of the crystals. I'd shoot them, think I got everybody, and then start fighting,
There'd be
and then all
one
of a sudden
left.
I die because all of a sudden I got attacked by this spider out of nowhere.
And it's really at a time where it's already hard enough to focus on him, and he gets breaks on his own, so you don't really need the other added.
Yeah.
And maybe that'd be...
I kept saying, somebody said this needed to be harder, because there's also the fact that the only 2 energon cubes and
right in front of
are
him.
right in front of them, and if you go too far, you fall off that cliff. Somebody said, you know what? We need to not make it so that it's safe to get these energon cubes. We need to make this battle a little bit harder.
Just in case you transform over there and fall
I'm
off.
going to slap somebody. What the hell?
You know what? I wonder how it would be balanced if you played co-op. Like, I wonder if that would... Because you could have one dude, like, on Spider Patrol.
Yes.
And, like, everybody else is...
That's kind of what I mentioned in the last episode.
Yeah.
I think those areas are really meant for co-op.
Yeah.
Because the real problem is just that the boss is focused solely on the player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, the AI don't really do much damage.
No, they don't.
I think they actually can knock things out, but it takes them forever. They never grab better weapons. They never upgrade in that sort of way, and I don't think they do a whole lot in terms of damage. But they can do it, but never rely on them to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think co-op would actually solve a lot of that problem because you would be dividing its attention a lot, and I still really like the game, and it was weird because so much of the game was manageable. Like I never really, it felt challenging, but at the same time, I never really felt like, oh my god, this is ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
Until that last part.
And then all of a sudden, there would be like one point where it was like, what the hell is going on? This is ridiculously hard.
Right.
Yeah. It almost got that, because I also played through on hard, and that, because you battle Omega Supreme several times. That first time where he's kind of flying around and you're using the turrets and stuff like that, that was really, really difficult. But, I don't know. But, of course, and we've mentioned this with other games in the past, it's difficult, and then when you get done, you're like, yeah. Take that, you son of a bitch.
And at the very end, you get those awesome credits.
Yes, exactly.
And they're building the arc.
But I literally said...
awesome.
I literally said probably 5 times during my Tripticon battle. Somebody said, we need to make this harder. Really?
I think that would be the moment of the game that I really love the most.
What, the end?
Was the arc. Because then I'm like,
seeing the
those
arc.
motherfuckers are making another game, and they're going to let ship, and it's going to crash, and I want to drive G1s.
You can sleep your Transformers
It's gonna be
for
G1.
a million years.
Yeah.
It's going to be the show.
Yep. That's what I totally want to play co-op and transform
I want
into
the
a gun,
reverse.
and then someone can take it and shoot other people with. I'll be Megatron. People can shoot me.
I want the reverse because in the
people.
cartoon, the Autobots show up and then Decepticons follow them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I want the reverse campaign. I want the next
Yeah.
game to be basically Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Where it's you play as the Autobots at first, and then they at the end of their campaign, they find out, oh shit, here come the Decepticons again, and then you take over the Decepticons campaign, and you're like, yep, and then you wreck their day.
Oh yeah.
And then it ends on a total dark note where it's like they take over everything, and
I had totally
That'd be
forgotten.
awesome.
I had totally forgotten that the arc crashed on Earth like millions
Yeah,
of years ago.
yeah.
Until you're at the core and the core is talking to you, and it's like, I'm gonna have to reboot, but that's gonna take me like a million years, dude.
sorry.
And then I'm like, oh, and they're gonna be a million years asleep on Earth. It's perfect.
Yo.
My bad.
Except when they got woke up that one little time for Beast Wars.
I just totally imagined the core of Cybertron crashing. Just like, I need to run my antivirus program. Hold
Sorry.
on.
It's going to take a while.
And then the big status bar comes up. Estimated time, 2 million years. Fuck. Sounds like some of my real
I was going to say, it's like
computer
updating
problems.
iTunes.
Yeah.
So they put those two unlockable characters in there. They're
Yes.
chicks, aren't they? They're
Yes.
both
Yeah,
female
yeah.
chicks.
Chicks.
Females,
There you
ladies,
RC,
girls.
and then I can't remember the name. She's a scientist class, so she's a jet fighter
Yeah.
for the Decepticons. Yeah.
Stripper.
What?
I don't
Stripper
think
X.
it's Stripperella.
I think
Oh
it's
my
Nurse
God.
Stripper.
I don't think that's any of those are right.
I'd change it.
I don't
to
remember
that.
what her name is.
You can change their names.
I know. That's what I would change it to.
Customizable Anyway,
Well, cool. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to throw in about the game?
I don't know.
I feel satisfied.
Yeah, I feel pretty satisfied with it. I'm really thrilled. Have you? We didn't talk about Escalation. Did either of you get to play Escalation?
I did play some Escalation.
It's like the Horde mode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda.
I found it a little bit. I'm not a big killer. I don't kill a lot of people
Yeah.
in multiplayer. I kind of sit back and just steal kills maybe. But having to use your points to buy like upgrades,
Yes. Open
ammo,
doors.
things like that. That kind of was like a little damper for me.
Oh, really?
So I just followed who I was in the game with.
Oh, I see.
And
where you're
just
going. Yeah.
hung
So what
out
you do?
with
Get
them.
like you get points in the game, and then
You
you,
get-
have to do that. Like those.
You get points and you have vending machines basically
Yeah.
where you can buy new weapons and you can use them to open doors, but it's not like you can bank it. So, for example, you can say, I'm going to throw 100 points into this door thing, and everybody contributes a little bit, and then you can open up the door as a team. I mean, it really.
And what happens when you open the door?
Well, usually there's like better things in there, better items in there,
different guns and stuff
things like that. And so you don't have to open the doors if you don't want to. But I think it does help encourage the team play, and that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about the multiplayer is that it brings me back to the whole Red Faction guerrilla thing, where team play is really crucial and really emphasized, and the fact that you have the specialization and things like that further emphasizes that. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really enjoying about the multiplayer aspect of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get to play with some old friends from Gears Day, and then a new guy, and we just kind of hung out, and it was fun. They allowed me. I hadn't even played it yet, and I just jumped right into multiplayer, and we had some fun. It was good. I love that
I played with entirely people I didn't know, and I still had. I had a really great time. And I think part of it is designed. It's not so much that first-person shooter multiplayer aspect where it's easy. Of course, I never played single-player deathmatch. That might be a little bit different, but I think it's a little harder to be the dude who camps out of sight and scopes people. And headshots them all and things like that. And so I think that adds a stronger element of fun for the multiplayer for me.
Decepticons kind of meld into the surroundings I've noticed on some of the maps. I mean,
well,
it
depends what colors you choose, I guess.
Exactly, which I'm usually purple. And that's usually
but I tend to make myself a little brighter so people can see me.
I don't want people to see me. I'm like John Cena and shit.
Yikes.
My God.
Hey, I did it.
That's got to be the end.
But all around, I'd like to see Hasbro put a G.I. Joe game out.
Like this?
Like this.
Not like the other one?
Exactly. And the same kind of feeling and the same kind of it'd be sweet. It would be so cool having
Like, just do it straight up. Like you would like High Noon to take on just the G.I. Joe franchise
it'd be sweet.
Yeah, if they did it the same way, like split the campaigns, that'd be kind of cool.
Have the Cobra and G.I. Joe campaign, and
I wonder how it would work, like with removing the aspect of transforming and things like that.
Well, and the other interesting thing is that one of the nice things about and we've mentioned this with other licensed games, is that the best licensed games tend to be the ones that don't follow a set storyline.
Yeah.
And so you probably wouldn't be able to do an origin thing because the origin of G.I. Joe and Cobra and all that stuff has been, fleshed out a lot. So, they would either have to kind of follow a preset story, especially if Hasbro was behind it.
Yeah.
You'd have to kind of follow that preset story.
Well, they did with this one, though, right?
Or go somewhere else.
This one had, it touched base on a little bit of...
They had an endpoint that they had to get to.
Yeah, that's true.
I think. But how they told it was up to them.
But, Optimus, his role was always up in the air. He was always a soldier first, so... I like it. That's why I like Rodimus when he came in. Rodimus Prime came into it because he was the same kind of character, and you had Ultra Magnus being like, "I'll do this shit, man." It's like, no, you won't. It's got to be a guy that doesn't want it. Shoot those rockets off your arms. That was the other thing too. Is I wanted to make my character what would Optimus looking character actually look like. Ultra Magnus. And I couldn't do that, so I'm upset about that. That's the one thing I'm upset about.
That's the one thing you hate.
Broken.
It sucks.
Yeah, but
my nerd boner wasn't fully hardened.
Oh my
nerd boner. Oh, those.
Are we tapped out?
We're tapped out. All right. I was pleasantly surprised by this game.
Yeah,
I loved the way the multiplayer looked, but I was really hesitant on just because of the 2 movie games that came out.
I played the last couple of games, and I'm like, there's no way this is going to be good. There's just no way.
Well,
you can't do it.
Actually, I looked at it and I thought, this is going to turn out to be a good game, but I was in no way prepared for how excited I was going to be about it. Actually playing it, and I've said this on the last episode, this is our shared copy that I'm playing right now.
Yeah.
I want to buy this myself, so one, that I can have it for all time, and 2, so that I can give my money to them and say, as my way of saying, awesome job, guys.
Right.
Hand spank. Here's my $60.
Hand spanks for everybody.
Get the Ark on Earth so we can play with them here.
What are they going to do? Just kind of walk around if the Decepticons aren't there yet?
What? That's why you do they're totally reconning, and then let's say they have to fight freaking troops. Okay. What if the Russians find them?
Yeah, you have to fight Russians and Germans.
The Russians and Germans
the Russians and Germans show up.
They teamed up to fight the Autobots.
Red Dawn 2, Transformers Boogaloo. Seriously, that's the way it's going to happen.
Yes.
I'm writing the game.
Wow.
A spoiler, just to let you guys know I got picked up to write the...
Well,
We
thanks-
gave a spoiler warning at the beginning.
Thanks for listening to Fan Fiction Cast.
Sean's going to start his Transformers fanfic podcast.
you all guys all know what Soundwave's going
This
to
is the
look
first
like.
episode of it.
Your boner.
No!
I don't know.
That's Shockwave.
Oh, yeah.
Shockwave's the gun. Soundwave...
Oh, yeah, you want to have Soundwave be an iPad.
But
iPhone?
I'd rather not have it be an Apple brand item.
What's
but
your redesign of Soundwave? Tell me.
He would be like his tapes would be his apps instead.
Yeah.
So he'd be like Laserbeak, pew, and then she'd just show up. Yeah, Laserbeak's a female, by the way. Just so you
In
guys
your
know.
fanfic?
No, she is.
Okay, good.
Period. Every birds are females.
How does that work?
So,
It's a robot.
so he's an iPad, and then his apps turn into the...
Exactly.
I can get behind that.
Well, if he can transform to a big robot and then to a small cassette player, he can turn into either an iPad or whatever
Then you can have a
Microsoft
whole,
has coming out.
You can have a whole episode where like he's trying to run Flash on it, but it doesn't
Exactly.
work.
And he's having a hard time.
I'm shaking my head here.
I'm
All right, I'm
serious.
going to pull the plug. How about that?
Plug puller.
Anybody got anything parting thoughts on Transformers?
I thought we were done.
We've wrapped everything up, right?
Yeah, it's totally worth it. It's yeah.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm very happy with it.
Well, thanks to everybody for checking out our private chat with
Putting up with our ridiculousness.
Transformers War for Cybertron. Hey, you got your own redesign ideas? Send them to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Sean will steal your idea for his next game that he's making.
I wonder how many people he traumatized out of listening to future private chats with this private chat.
Not that many.
Our
Just a
website,
couple.
is signedinpodcast.com. You can get all the junk over there. And you can email us at comments@signedinpodcast.com.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That is.
We out.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
In a cold, faraway world, a battle is raging between evil and good. From the stars that came here to earth, caught in their struggle through the whole universe, robotic warriors give it their own, fight in disguise to the victors there's hope. Transformers, defenders of truth, robots who fight in disguise. Transformers, when the battle is through, only the strong will survive. Till all are one. Unknown soldiers fighting the war, use the power and wisdom from those long before, leads them on to victory. Life's their darkest hour, their one destiny. Truth has its moment and right always wins. Prepare for the fight, let the battle begin. Transformers, defenders of truth, robots who fight in disguise. Transformers, when the battle is through, only the strong will survive. Till all are one. Galaxies roar, evil retreats to its darkest corner. With the enemy gone, they will finally live on. It's a rebel in their victory. Robotic warriors give it their own, fighting
Thank you. This has been a Pseudo Radio production, copyright 2010. Good night.